After the show ends, everyone gathers with Remlim inside again, although Ludo doesn't understand why she painted his face like a clown and is not happy about it at all. The girl simply laughs at him, which makes him even angrier. Meanwhile, Engin talks to the mayor, saying that he's starting to understand what kind of person becomes a sorcerer, since Remlim reminds him a lot of Gop. The mayor agrees with him and mentions that no one can stop the playful spirit of those kids. Once Remlim stops laughing, she introduces herself again, saying that she inherited the craft of sorcery to play, although she quickly changes this and says she did it to work hard. The mayor comments that there are supposed to have been 6 generations of sorcerers, since for them, art serves as their record, and they don't write those things down. Putting that aside, Remlim speaks to Ludo, saying that she just realized her ability doesn't work if people don't give her permission. It's kind of like when you can graffiti without permission in other towns, so it's more important for people to give her permission than when she draws on walls or things. Engin mentions that this was the case with Gop, so he asks if sorcerers inherit the exact same ability as their predecessors. The mayor replies that he heard that in each generation the ability is similar to that, but sometimes it varies in certain details. Engin assumes that each person uses, thinks about, and experiences things differently, so the power and form must be different depending on who uses the instrument, but it would be special if it were passed down through generations. Remlim interrupts him to say that's not the case, and explains that it's the same because they share the playful spirit when drawing, from balloons to relieve stress to flowers to ease conflicts. They always draw in different places with hidden meanings. GOP and those before him chose people who were very free-spirited and playful, so she plans to choose someone like that too, because that's what she loves most. Engin still doesn't understand her explanation, but says that in short the ability is similar because they think alike. Once again, Remlim tells him that's not the case and clarifies that they don't think the same, since everyone is free to draw whatever they want and the resulting works are very different. Engin just gets more confused the more he thinks about it, to the point of getting exasperated because he can't understand anything she's saying. The mayor asks him to calm down and forget about it, since trying to understand the minds of artists can drive you crazy. Without wasting any more time, Ludo takes off the top part of his uniform so that Remlim can draw a spell on his body to heal a major injury once. She gets ready to start working and transforms her vital instrument into a tattoo machine. Engin panics when he sees this and stops her immediately, asking if she really intends to tattoo him. The mayor asks the girl to act a bit more seriously, but at that very moment he is surprised to realize that her instrument has a different shape than before. Before, it was shaped like a brush. But Remlim explains that it changed into a tattoo machine when she thought of tattooing Ludo, since she thinks it's good to vary the tools. This leaves them very surprised, since it means that in addition to spells, she has the ability to create any tool she can imagine, which is crazy. Remlim reassures them and agrees not to tattoo Ludo, although she makes it clear that if she only draws on him, it will wash off when he bathes, unless he doesn't bathe. Ludo has no choice but to let her graffiti his body, knowing that Remlim is simply having fun. Engin gives up trying to understand her and simply admits that he doesn't mind her attitude. Remlim gets to work and after drawing spells on everyone, ends up completely exhausted. The mayor accompanies them to the city gates and apologizes for having taken so long to attend to them, although Engin is only grateful since Remlim helped them a lot for it being her first time. When they reach the exit, the 2 guys from before who couldn't get into the city are still there. They don't hesitate to yell at the mayor, quite angry about the fact that some unknown brat inherited Gop's feather. It's obvious they wanted to inherit the feather themselves, but the mayor interrupts their complaints and silences them with a shout, exclaiming that they can't even enter the city because of their attitude, so there's no way they could have gotten that feather. They don't need those so-called artists who are only after fame, so if they understand that, then they should just leave. Seeing the mayor's terrifying expression, the 2 guys leave the city, and Engin admits that he's scary when he's angry. Finally, everyone gets into the car and says goodbye to Remlim and the mayor, who apologizes for having lost his temper a moment ago, since that's not what a gentleman would do. Ludo thanks Remlim, commenting that he has a feeling he witnessed something amazing, so he plans to come back. Remlim smiles and says that one day she'll go graffiti with the cleaners, just like Gop used to do. Engin starts driving and tells Ludo that they're going back to headquarters to get his full-face helmet. Right at that moment, another idea comes to him and he decides to go do what Ludo loves so much. Within minutes, both of them are inside an abandoned building in front of a huge pile of trash. Ludo is left speechless with excitement, and Engin tells him to take whatever he wants to help him out in an emergency. They're far from the contaminated area, so there are no trash beasts and he'll have time to take whatever he wants. Before he can finish his sentence, Engin realizes that Ludo has already gone off to hunt for treasures like crazy among the trash, extremely excited about it. At the top of that huge pile of trash, an old television suddenly turns on, showing the image of a person wearing gloves identical to Ludo's. Shortly after, the group returns to the station, but Ludo gets confused when he encounters a man shouting energetically, Zemyu welcomes them, mentioning that just a moment ago they received news about Gop from Canvas Town. The man from before interrupts him to announce that the mask he was working on is ready. Seeing Ludo's confusion, Engine tells him that this is August, the craftsman in charge of making the cleaner's equipment. August exclaims that the mask is finished and turned out absolutely perfect. He also tells Ludo that since they weren't introduced, he took his measurements while he was sleeping, so it will fit him perfectly. Engine and Zemyu told him what Ludo was like, so he also gave him a really cool design. Ludo is surprised to hear that, and August clarifies that he was lucky Ludo left the door open at night. Engine and Rio are also surprised to learn that Ludo sleeps with the door open, and they wonder if that's common among the Sferinos. Just at that moment, Aisha runs up to her brother August and asks him to behave and stop causing trouble for everyone else. August doesn't even understand what she's saying, which only makes her more upset. Ludo is left confused by their relationship, since they don't even seem like siblings with such different personalities. After going down to another area of the station with the group, Ludo complains and asks why there are so many loud Terrans, though Enshin and Sanka remind him that, well, he is too. After remembering something, Enshin asks Ludo to take off his choker for a moment. Ludo does as he's told without knowing what Enshin wants, and is startled when he sees everyone start biting their finger to draw a little blood and put it on his choker. The blood is quickly absorbed, and Enshin explains that the chokers are like a kind of transmitter or like a phone. He can only talk to people with whom he has exchanged blood, and that's why all Terrans wear these collars, since exchanging blood is like a sign of friendship. Despite what it is, Ludo feels a bit more at ease after learning this, so he puts his choker back on while wondering what kind of technology it uses or if it's the ability of a giver. Enshin interrupts his thoughts and with a terrifying expression warns him that he also has to give her his blood. Ludo is frightened when he realizes what he has to do, but after going through this process, they are finally ready to go to the Forbidden Zone to look for the woman. On the way, Enshin asks Ludo if he didn't bring too much junk and reminds him that they will be walking for half the journey, so he should only take what he can carry. Ludo explains that these are spare parts he brought just in case, so there won't be any problem. Enshin then mentions that this is the second time he will visit a Forbidden Zone, and that the beasts will come out as soon as they arrive, so he needs to be well prepared. Ludo simply shows a determined expression, and after a long journey, they arrive at Penta, the Forbidden Desert area where everyone wears their full face masks. Tamsi is the first to go down and investigate, and immediately notices that what's on the ground isn't sand, but pulverized waste. In no time, trash beasts leave a trail of destruction in their wake and quickly head toward them to give them a welcome. Enshin tells Ludo that, according to witnesses, the woman they're looking for must be further inside, so he can't fall behind. Then he makes it clear that he already knows, and Enshin mentions that with their gloves they apply the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, and recycle, so he needs to be prepared. This is an environmentalist message. As the beasts get closer, everyone gets ready for what's coming, and Ludo is the first to spring into action. As he heads toward the beasts, he thinks about August's words, who told him that upon reaching the Forbidden Zone, he should first put on the half mask and then connect it to the oxygen tank. After that, he needs to put the mask on the top part so that it becomes a full face mask. Ludo clearly followed his instructions, so he uses the mask for the first time and reunites with the trash beasts. Meanwhile, Yebra is watching an old television somewhere in his base and learns that the other boss is in Penta. The cleaners join Ludo to fight the trash beasts, so Tome takes charge of starting the record. The first beast they encountered in the Penta Desert has a shape similar to a scorpion, and because of its mirror-like shell, it's reasonable to think it attacks in a similar way, with its pincers and stinger. Rio jumps high into the air while facing 3 of these beasts and, using his vital instrument, drops like a projectile to pierce through one of them. After dodging an attack, he uses his feet to handle his scissors and cut parts of the other beasts. One of them heads towards Sanka to attack him, but he blocks the attacks effortlessly, saying he's already tired of their metallic noises. In just a few seconds, Sanka uses his staff to strike the beast's neck, causing blue flames to burst out from its sides. The monster falls easily, but soon after, Sanka finds himself surrounded by an even greater number of enemies of the same type. Right at that moment, Enshin drops from the sky, using his umbrella as a projectile in a move called Okujira Raider. When he hits the ground, all the beasts around Sanka are pulverized within seconds, but one of them remains intact, the very one that Enshin leaves for Ludo, who doesn't hesitate to attack it with one of the pieces of trash he brought with him. In another scene, an unknown woman manages to sense something at the exact moment Ludo uses his ability. The keyboard, which had been thrown away as trash, is used by Ludo, who turns it into a weapon and manages to shoot several keys as projectiles. The beast's shell is completely destroyed, displaying a message that reflects Ludo's thoughts. When the last trash scorpion is destroyed, Enshin admits that there were too many of them. Since they're coming out from underground, it means there's a lot of trash buried beneath this pseudo-arena. While searching a bit in the sand, Enshin finds an object but gets distracted when he hears Grizz scolding Tome for making records during the fight. She explains that she knows it's risky, but if she waits until after the fight, she would forget crucial details. Besides, in the Forbidden Zone, her role is to look after her as the one in charge of the records, so she trusts them. Grizz understands her reasoning, so she simply asks her to be more aware of the danger. While they argue, Ludo tries to clean his mask because the large amount of dust is clouding his vision. As he does this, he manages to see a woman in the mist for just a moment, which surprises him greatly, but he loses sight of her instantly. Delmon and Tamsi suddenly appear at his side, giving him such a fright that he falls down. Tamsi comments that there is an impressive amount of dust clouds, so they almost lost him. Delmon praises him for the great job he has done, although he says he wanted to see his brave feats with his own eyes and couldn't do so because of the dust. Tamsi reassures him and tells him that he'll be able to see them later, and in the meantime, Ludo is simply relieved to have been helped this time. Suddenly, Tamsi falls silent, and that's when the three of them manage to see the woman from before, who slowly approaches through the mist without wearing any kind of mask. The woman confirms their suspicions when she sees them and asks if they have come to see her. The three of them remain silent for a few seconds, since they don't know when she appeared and didn't even notice her presence. Enshin appears alongside Ludo and comments that she might be the woman they're looking for, although Sanka points out that would be a little too convenient. Even so, Enshin makes it clear that so far she doesn't seem hostile, so at the very least they should ask her for directions. Rio decides to be more direct and, without hesitation, asks the woman if she is the one who saw someone going back and forth between the sphere and Terra. The woman replies yes, and with this they confirm that she really is the girl they were looking for. Enshin then admits that they were lucky, so they should ask her what they want and leave immediately. His sentence is interrupted by the woman, who keeps coughing and comments that the air is damaging her lungs, so it would be better to talk at her house, since there they won't need masks or any equipment. Sanka asks her why she didn't put one on before, but the woman ignores her question and clarifies that her house is just a few steps away. Rio suggests to Enshin that she should be the one to go talk to the woman in case it's a trap, but he decides that they should all go. After all, even if she is plotting something, it's best to try to resolve it by talking, and if there's no choice but to fight, then he'll face her. Despite his words, when they arrive at the woman's house, Ludo is shocked to see Enshin defeated in an instant, unable to understand what just happened. And that's how chapter 10 ends. If you enjoyed it, comment mask so I know you stayed until this part of the video, and you can also subscribe to the channel.